Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm back with another video, and this is going to be part 2 to What If Naruto Was an Older Brother. And here's some important stuff about the series that I didn't put on the title. So anyways, Naruto will be having Shikotsumyaku, which is the Kaguya clan's bone bloodline, along with a few other elemental ones, and he won't have any Sharingan or wood release, and he will have a little sister who's 5 years younger to him, and he will be the same age as Itachi. So anyways, first off, I would just like to take a few seconds to tell you all that I set up a Discord server with my channel manager, and the link is in the description of both of the new series videos, and it's also there in the channel description and in the community tab post that I put telling you guys about it. So uh, I also I'm displaying it here on the video. So I would really love it if you guys can join the Discord channel server, and I'm planning to meet up for a discussion with you guys every Sunday at a certain time. So I would like to know whether you'd like this, because in the discussion we'd discuss about ideas for my channel and my videos, and like any what ifs I do. So rather than having a discussion with me in comments, you can speak to me about your ideas, and we can have like a real time discussion. So if you guys are cool with this, the timing is going to be 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So just tell me if you're looking forward to this in the comments, or uh, never mind. Yeah, in the comments, so that I'll know whether or not I should join the voice channel on Discord, on the Discord server, because no one likes being stood up. So, anyways, let's get on to the video. We last part we left off with Naruto falling unconscious after literally holding back the entire claw of the nine tails from piercing his parents when it was about to attack Natsumi, who is Naruto's sister. And Minato sealed the whole damn nine tails into Natsumi, as he was confident that she would be able to take the chakra, and he knew that if this happened when Naruto was a baby, he would definitely have the chakra necessary. And baby Natsumi had a huge chakra signature, and her chakra was very dense as well, but it paled in comparison to Naruto's chakra. So yeah, let's get straight to this part. So after Naruto fell unconscious, Minato and Kushina were worried that their son wasn't okay, but then Minato checked Naruto's pulse, and he was still alive, and his pulse wasn't fading or anything like that. So Minato thought that he was just knocked out, unconscious because of the stress of holding back the entire Nine Tails paw. So Minato was extremely happy that Naruto was able to protect him and Kushina, and he decided to use a sealing scroll to collect all of the Nine Tails chakra. That was, the residual Nine Tails chakra that was spread throughout the village to, and when the Nine Tails was attacking, and he sealed all of that into Kushina to keep her alive. So, anyways, after that, everyone fell unconscious, and Hiruzen found them, and luckily he found all of them to be alive, and he saw the seal on Natsumi, and he realized that Natsumi was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki now. And by the way, if you're wondering where Jiraiya and Tsunade were in all of this, Jiraiya was actually outside the village during this time, and Tsunade was working overtime in the hospital because of all the people who got hurt during the Nine Tails attack. Her slugs were also helping heal all the affected people. And yeah, so anyways, when Hiruzen found Naruto and his family, Sans Kimimaro, he was like, they're alive, thank God. And he immediately arranged for them to be taken to the hospital and checked up on. And yeah, and because Naruto's chakra was no longer keeping his bones, the bones that he was using intact, they just disintegrated. And and also the chakra chains were gone as well. So Naruto was able to be put on a stretcher and carried to the hospital. Anyways, after Naruto woke up, like Naruto was the first one to wake up because he was only unconscious because of physical stress, while Minato was unconscious because of chakra exhaustion, and Kushina was unconscious because of the stress that her body was under when the Kyuubi was extracted and the chakra was sealed back. And Naruto saw Kimimaro and Tsunade sitting beside his bed, and he was like, Kimimaro, Tsunade auntie, how are my parents? And Kimimaro was like, Tsunade was like, they're alright, Naruto. They're due to wake up in a few hours. And Naruto was like, that's good. And Tsunade was like, it was a miracle that they managed to survive. I thought that Kushina was going to die for sure since the Kyuubi was extracted from her, but due to her Uzumaki genes, and Minato finding a way to circumvent that issue, she managed to survive. Naruto just nodded, and he was like, "What of my little sister?" And Tsunade was like, "Natsumi is all right. She's the only one who came out of the situation without harm. She's sleeping in her crib over there." And Naruto was like, I thought I also came out of the situation without harm. I was just unconscious, wasn't I? And Tsunade was like, no, Naruto, when you held back the claw of the Nine Tails, the force behind the attack dislocated a few of your bones. However, other than that, you were all fine. And Naruto just nodded and he acknowledged, the small amount of soreness that he was feeling from his shoulders and his back. And he was like, "Can I hold her?" And Tsunade was like, "I don't see why not. Come here." And Naruto held his little sister as he caressed her delicate arms and felt her soft baby hair. He was like, "She's like a little angel," and Tsunade was like, "That she is, Naruto." The joys of childbirth. And she looked at Natsumi a little longingly, wondering how it would be if her lover Dan was still alive, and they would have had a family by now and all that stuff. Anyways, a few minutes later, Tsunade was like, "That's enough, Naruto. Your sister needs to rest now." And Naruto just nodded and gave Natsumi back to Tsunade, who put her back in the crib. Then Naruto turned to Kimimaro, who was patiently waiting and not participating in this conversation so far. And Kimimaro just put a hand on his shoulder and he was like, "You alright?" And Naruto was like, "Just a bit sore. How about you? You didn't get hurt or anything during the attack, did you?" And Kimimaro was like, "No, I was at home, remember?" And Naruto was like, "That you were, Kimimaro, but I just had to be sure." And Kimimaro was like, "I understand." Anyways, Naruto and Kimimaro waited patiently for a few hours before Minato and Kushina finally woke up. And after the same usual confusion of asking whether everyone is alright and stuff, they hugged Naruto for protecting them and they told him that the village would know of his heroic actions. And Naruto was like, "I'm not worried about that, father. I don't want to use my strength to gain glory. I'm just happy that you're all safe." And Minato just smiled and hugged his son, and Kushina did the same. And after they had like a happy like family reunion and all that stuff, they just went back home and they started raising Naruto and Natsumi. So, anyways, um, Minato and Kushina turned to Naruto and they both decided to talk to him for a while. And Minato was like, "Son, we need to talk." And Naruto was like, "What about, father?" And Minato was like, "See, from now on I'll be busier than ever as Hokage because of the Nine Tails attack. It's going to create a massive influx of paperwork and council meetings for me. So I won't be able to be as involved in your life as I was before. And because of that, I won't be able to help Kushina out as well. So she'll essentially be raising you and your little sister on her own." However, since your sister has just been born, she'll be forced to put more of her attention on her, and you might feel neglected." And Naruto was like, "I understand, father. I was preparing myself to take care of myself better for this situation. Of course, I didn't know that the nine tails would have been extracted, but I knew that my sister's needs would take priority once he's born, since she's younger, at least for the first few years of our lives. Sorry, of her life." And Minato and Kushina smiled and hugged their son, and Kushina was like, "I'm lucky to have such a smart and understanding son." And Minato agreed with her. And before they left, Naruto called him and he was like, "This means that I'll have to start training on my own, right?" And Minato and Kushina were like, "Yes, Naruto. I'm afraid this means that we won't be able to train you anymore, at least for a short while. Jiraiya sensei and Tsunade are busy as well. Due to the number of people injured in the hospital, Tsunade has been hard pressed and has been working in the hospital for very long hours. And since we know who was behind the attack of the Nine Tails, Jiraiya has been mobilizing his spy network to find out more about the people involved. So I'm afraid that for a while they won't be able to train you as well. However, I'm sure that Kimimaru will be happy to help you, as well as your friend Itachi. And since the third Hokage retired, you can ask him for help as well." And Naruto was like, "I will, father, and I thank you both for training me until now." And Minato sighed at his son's way of speaking, and inwardly he was like, "I don't know why he finds it necessary to be so formal." And it's just shaking his head and smiling. He left, and uh, a few seconds later, Kushina just followed him, out. So Naruto decided to look for some scrolls in his parents' jutsu library with new motivation because of the Nine Tails attack, and he was like, "All that training until now, and I was only able to stop its claw. I know that's a lot for someone my age, but if there are enemies like Obito and other people that he may be working with in the world, I have to get stronger much faster." So he went to the library and like of his house, and he decided to go with first open a large scroll that had a large amount of dust gathered on it, signifying that it hadn't been opened in a while. So this intrigued Naruto, and he decided to open it. And he saw that it was a scroll of sealing, and it was there because the Namikaze, sorry, not the Namikaze, fuck, the Kaguya household was literally the most secure place in Konoha, even more secure than the Hokage's tower, which has Anbu guarding it. And this is because of seals that are placed throughout the house, and only people who have access to, these seals, or not access, like who only the people whose signature is recognized by these seals are allowed to enter in certain restricted areas. And this included Naruto because he was family of Minato and Kushina. And also the scroll ceiling was kept in the house because Minato would have to retire from the Hokage tower like every day to go back to his home, and that would leave the Hokage tower without the Hokage. And also in the house there would always be at least one person staying, whether it be Minato or Kushina. So anyways, Naruto opened the scroll, and he saw that it was the scroll of sealing that his dad told him about. And he knew that he wasn't supposed to open it, but then curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to read it. And the first technique on that was a forbidden jutsu called the Shadow Clone Jutsu. And he was like, "These are only clones that are physical. Then why are they forbidden?" And he read the warnings on the technique, and he realized that only someone with extremely large chakra reserves can even attempt this technique, as if there's too less amount of chakra in a person, they could easily suffer from chakra exhaustion and die during while performing this jutsu. And Naruto already knew that he had the most powerful chakra in the Leaf Village, and the most amount of it as well. So he realized that this technique would be okay for him to practice. So he followed the instructions and learned how to do the jutsu. And after the few hours it took for the few hours that it took for him to learn the technique, he looked below the shadow clone jutsu to see a variant of it called the exploding clone jutsu. And this was essentially just a shadow clone which compressed all of its chakra and let it out at once, creating an explosion. And the more chakra that's put into the shadow clone, the larger the explosion is, and also the more durable the shadow clone is. But he didn't try the exploding clone jutsu at home, but he just read it and decided to try it outside some other day. He felt that he needed to go to the bathroom after training to do the shadow clone jutsu. So he just left his clone in the library, and he went to the restroom. And when he came back, he saw the clone reading a scroll, and he shook his head at the clone's actions, and he was like, "Looks like my clones have a mind of their own." And he released the clone, making it dispel. And he suddenly realized that he knew all the information in the scroll. So he theorized that this was because the memories of the shadow clones go back to the original, and what the clone was reading was a wind jutsu, which was wind style great breakthrough. And deciding to experiment to be sure that this technique worked, he sent a clone downstairs to see what his mother was making for dinner. And the clone saw the food and dispelled, and Naruto instantly knew what was for dinner. So he was like, so this confirms it. This brings to mind so many uses that the shadow clone can have. If I use shadow clones, then I can train at a much higher rate. And I barely even felt any drain of making one shadow clone. Let me go outside to see the maximum number I can make. So he went outside and he split his chakra to make shadow clones. And when he made the maximum number of shadow clones he could, he saw that he made 1500 clones, and his eyes widened at seeing the number of clones he was able to make. And he was like, "That is a lot of clones." And he decided to see what would happen if he dispelled all of them at once. And he dispelled all of them to suddenly feel exhausted. And he was like, so this is the effect of creating so many shadow clones at once. I feel the drain and the backlash of creating these clones after I dispel them. So to be safe for training, I'll only use 1000 clones. So he waited until his chakra was recovered, and then he went to the library and he got several scrolls on wind jutsus, fire jutsus, water jutsus, and lightning jutsus. And he also got several books about taijutsu, theory and principles, and several different taijutsu styles. And he created 1000 clones, and he pointed to 500 of them, and he was like, "You 500, split into 5 groups of 100. The first 400 will practice chakra nature manipulation until we finally get the last stage for each element we know. The last 400, the last 100 shadow clones will try to manifest the earth element, and the next 300 of you will split into 6 groups of 50 and try to get started with our chakra nature Kekkei. And out of the last 200 of you, 2 groups of 50 will be practicing our Shikotsumyaku and Uzumaki chakra chains. The remaining 100 of you will practice taijutsu." I used all of these scrolls and books that I've collected here. And after the group nodded, he set off to Itachi's house to see how he was doing after the attack. And While he was going there, he bumped into Kakashi, and Kakashi was like, "Hello, Naruto. How are you doing?" And Naruto was like, "Kakashi, I'm well. How are you?" And Kakashi was like, "Oh, I'm all right. Just a bit shaken from recent events." And Naruto was like, should I tell him it was Obito who coordinated this attack? I'll ask Dad later to see if it's okay." And Naruto looked up to hear Kakashi's next question, and Kakashi was like, "What are you doing right now?" And Naruto was like, "Just going to Itachi's house." And Kakashi was like, I heard that you have a lightning chakra affinity." And Naruto was like, "I do. Why?" And Kakashi was like, "I'd like to teach you a few jutsus in lightning." And Naruto narrowed his eyes at Kakashi and he was like, "What has you suddenly interested in doing that?" And Kakashi was like, wait, Kakashi just sighed and he was like, "Naruto, this Kyuubi attack has been an eye opener for me. I almost lost you, Minato sensei, and Kushina. Over the last few years, I've been depressed after Obito's and Rin's death. However, I realized that as shinobi, we have to cherish each other while we're alive. I'm sure Obito and Rin aren't happy with me moping around like a lost puppy over the last few years. I decided to make up for my actions and finally spend some time with you, Naruto." And Naruto, hearing Kakashi's sincerity, was like, I guess I'll give it a chance." And Kakashi led Naruto to the training ground, and he was like, "I'm going to teach you my signature lightning jutsu." And Naruto was like, "I don't mean to complain or be rude, but why would you trust me so easily with your signature jutsu? After all, I'm only 5." And Kakashi was like, "Well, first of all, Naruto, you're almost 6. And while that's still a very young age to learn such a jutsu, I know that you will use this jutsu for good things, like protecting the people you care about. I know that's what matters most to you." And Naruto nodded, and Kakashi started teaching him the Chidori. So after teaching Naruto the Chidori, Kakashi was like, "Normally, this jutsu can only be used in tandem with the Sharingan, because if non Sharingan users try to use it, they will suffer from tunnel vision and they won't be able to react to any attacks to counter the Chidori. However, you are a special case, Naruto. One of your Kekkei Genkai makes it possible for you to use this. Minato sensei also has this Kekkei Genkai. It's called Swift Release. It allows him to travel at extremely high speeds and see very bright lights without getting disoriented. It forms when the elements lightning and wind are combined. And since you have this Kekkei Genkai as well, your body will be able to handle going at the speeds necessary to perform a proper Chidori. And the bright light of the lightning in front of you will not affect your vision as well." And Naruto nodded at this before continuing to practice Chidori with Kakashi for the rest of the day until it was time for dinner. Anyways, Naruto went back to his home's training ground and he dispelled the clones in small batches. And he found out that his clones had been learning a lot. He still didn't finish his elemental chakra manipulation for each of the elements he knows. But then he was able to see that he was able to reduce the hand signs required for jutsus of each of the elements that he practiced elemental manipulation with, in only 1/6 of the hand signs that they normally took. Since most of them took only 6 to 8 hand signs, he found that he was able to easily do them with a single hand sign. Naruto saw that this was extreme progress, and such high degree of elemental manipulation made his jutsus impervious to the Sharingan, because for the Sharingan to copy a jutsu, it had to see the entire sequence of hand signs instead of just one. It also reduces the time it takes to cast the jutsu. I don't know what the hell they were doing in a Zabuza versus Kakashi fight. Like, in the string of 44 hand signs that they needed to do Water Dragon, they could have easily attacked each other. And Kakashi wouldn't be as exhausted. And same with the Water Vortex Jutsu. But anyway, I guess that was just a show. So, anyways, for the only element that Naruto didn't have, which is Earth, he found that it was extremely difficult to do and to use Earth jutsus, and they took double the chakra cost of a similarly ranked jutsu of another element. So he decided just to keep a few Earth jutsus in his arsenal just in case he ever needed them and it was an emergency. But then he wasn't going to use them all that often. He also learned how to control, better control boil release, ice release, and scorch release. While he only had moderate control over the other three, which were plasma release, storm release, and swift release. He had a bit of practice at swift release because of Kakashi teaching him the Chidori, but then he wasn't able to, hone it as much as he did for boil release, ice release, and scorch release. And of course, he made progress with Shikotsumyaku and chakra chains, and he could now use five chakra chains. And he finally finished the first part of the fourth dance of the, Shikotsumyaku, and that was Dance of the Clematis Vine. Dance of the Clematis Vine, and he was able to pull out his spine and use it as a whip, like Kimimaro does. And he started working on Dance of the Clematis Flower, which was a conglomeration of bones on his fist that was uh, which had a shape of a sphere, and not like a spear, more like a drill. If you know what I'm talking about. Like if you saw the anime or read the manga, you would know what I'm talking about. Just search Kimimaro Dance of the Clematis Flower or something like that. And in taijutsu he learned several taijutsu styles, and uh, he learned the patterns for movement in each of them. But he was surprised to see that the physical training he did took no toll on him at all, and he wasn't able to feel any effects of the physical training that he did. So he concluded that his shadow clones can only practice with ninjutsu and elemental manipulation, along with memorizing things, but they can't transfer physical exercise to the user. So of course he realized that the physical side of getting strong was up to him, and he could only rely on himself to get physically stronger, and not shadow clones. So anyways, he went home to see Kushina uh, rocking Natsumi on a chair, and she didn't even turn her head to notice that he walked in. And this slightly miffed Naruto, but then he understood that the needs of his sister outweighed his at the moment. So, um, of course, like he also remembered the discussion that he had with his parents. So he just shook his head and grabbed dinner and went back to the library. And the reason why he didn't go to sleep was because he wanted to see if he could get a clone of his to go to sleep and see whether he feels well rested in the next morning after he dispels his clone. And he in the library he was basically reading a book on advanced taijutsu and combining taijutsu styles. He liked the strength that the strong fist provided. The taijutsu that's used by Lee and Guy, and he also liked the accuracy that the gentle fist provided because it went well with his bloodline Shikotsumyaku, because he like Shikotsumyaku was a based bloodline, and his bones were made to slash and pierce the opponent. So accuracy in piercing the right places was needed because of course piercing in some places like the organs would do way more damage than piercing a, a fleshy part, like say just a shoulder or something like that. So of course he wanted the gentle fist accuracy as well, and he also wanted the speed that his father's swift fist provided. as it obviously went well with his swift release, which he did inherit from his father. So it was only logical that he incorporates elements of that into his taijutsu style. So, and his mother, she was more of a kenjutsu and fuinjutsu person. Her taijutsu was not really a style. So, of course, he didn't, you know, look more into her style. So, yeah, these were the elements. These were the types of taijutsu that he wanted to combine, and he was seeing, he was reading the book to theorize how things would play out if he did that. And by the way, this all is happening a couple of months time skip from when Natsumi was born. So, anyways, until then he was just training with Kimimaro, and Shizune helped him with medical ninjutsu as well to practice medical ninjutsu. So yeah, uh, yeah. So for those few months he was just practicing with them until he learned the shadow clone technique. When he finished reading the next morning, he decided to see whether shadow clone trick worked, and he went and dispelled the shadow clone, and surprisingly, he felt well rested. So he made another shadow clone to sleep while he is awake, so that once he gets tired again, he would just dispel it and create another one to sleep, and so on. So this would be Naruto's pattern, and he would never sleep so that he'd get more time to train and practice techniques. We time skip to a few days when and by the way, Orochimaru is still in the root organization right now since he is in Konoha. So he saw Naruto training with his Chidori and his Shadow clones, and he went to report to Danzo about Naruto's development. And anyways, in the root headquarters, he was like reporting Danzo, and reporting Lord Danzo, and Danzo was like, "Speak, Orochimaru," and Orochimaru was like, "Naruto is developing nicely. He shall become very strong." And Danzo was like, I believe you. You're not one to hand out compliments so easily. And Orochimaru was like, planning to recruit him? And Danzo was like, no, unfortunately, I can't do that so openly. After all, he is the child of the fourth. If we can do anything that causes them to believe he is dead, then perhaps we'll have a chance of recruiting him. We have to be patient, Orochimaru. So, anyways, Orochimaru was like, would you like me to make contact with him? And Danzo was like, hmm, knowing you, I'm sure you would make contact with him regardless of my answer. And Orochimaru was like, you know me too well, Lord Danzo. And he disappeared into the ground. And Danzo chuckled to himself, and he was like, one day you will be within my ranks, Naruto Uzumaki. And by the way, guys, the reason why Naruto is Naruto Uzumaki and not Naruto Kaguya or Naruto Uzumaki Kaguya or something like that was because Minato didn't want to pass on his last name since he knew of the Kaguya clan's history of bloodlust and stuff like that. So of course he felt embarrassed and ashamed to pass that last name on to his kids. So yeah, basically he was ashamed of his clan and he didn't want the name to live on. Kimimaro could do as he pleased if he wanted to, his kids to inherit the last name Kaguya. But then Minato didn't want to pass it on, so he requested the people who were responsible for Naruto's birth certificates and stuff to name him Uzumaki and not use his last name. So, anyways, Danzo's like, I shall soon have you within my ranks, Naruto Uzumaki. So many bloodlines, and then his eyes glinted greedily with power as he drooled a little bit. And anyways, a few months pass, and Naruto still trains with Itachi until one day Itachi decided that they both should use ninjutsu in their fight, to which Naruto promptly agreed. And during the fight, Itachi unleashed a massive fireball at Naruto, And Naruto is thinking, a fireball that size, impressive, but I can do better. And he just clasps his hands into a tiger seal without doing the other necessary hand signs. And he was like, fire style, fireball jutsu. Itachi was slightly confused and thought that Naruto messed up and wasn't going to be able to perform the jutsu. But then, out of Naruto's mouth came a massive fireball that towered over Itachi's, and it easily overpowered his as well. And Itachi stopped his fireball and he was like, Naruto, stop! I give up. And Naruto stopped his fireball and Itachi substituted, to get out of the way of the residual fire, and he was like, "How did you make such a massive fireball, Naruto?" And Naruto was like, "I have more chakra than you remember," and Itachi was like, "Of course I remember, but still, that's overkill. The fireball I unleashed at you is the biggest and most powerful that I can create." And first of all, how were you able to create the fireball with only one hand sign? And Naruto was like, two words, elemental manipulation. And Itachi was like, what? You're learning elemental manipulation? That's a Jonin thing. That's a Jonin exercise. And Naruto was like, your point being? And Itachi was like, never mind. Would you mind letting me borrow your book that you used to learn elemental manipulation? And Naruto was like, sure I can, but I suggest that you use Tsunade's help, since you'll definitely start off with fire manipulation first, and that's the most dangerous one. And Itachi was like, it's alright, if I get hurt, you know medical jutsu to help me, right? And Naruto was like, you want me to oversee your training? And Itachi was like, why not? We're friends, aren't we? And Naruto was like, I have my own training to do as well, Itachi. And Itachi was like, oh, I forgot about that. And Naruto was like, now, we wouldn't want the great Uchiha prodigy slipping up now, do we? And Itachi just gave him a mock glare, and Naruto just smirked. And Itachi's eyes widened, and he was like, "Did you just make a joke?" And Naruto was like, "Of course I did. Why is that so surprising?" And Itachi was like, "You never joke." And Naruto was like, now, it isn't like that, Itachi. You just never know when I do." And Itachi just chuckled at that. And he turned to Naruto and he was like, so how many fire jutsus do you know? And Naruto was like, oh, well, only four. All of them are B or C rank. I know the fireball, the phoenix flower, fire bullets, and fire stream. And Itachi was like, four? That's one more than I know. I know fireball, fire dragon, and fire phoenix flower. And Naruto was like, well, at least you know an A rank fire technique. And Itachi was like, but you still have a wider arsenal. And Naruto was like, I want to exchange techniques. And Itachi was like, sounds fun, let's do it. And they both got to work practicing each other's fire jutsus. So, as Naruto was walking home, uh, he was confronted by none other than Orochimaru. He narrowed his eyes at Orochimaru and he was like, so you finally decided to come out and face me? And Orochimaru was like, what do you mean? This is the first time I've seen you. And Naruto was like, you can't lie to me. I've sensed you spying on me while I was training. And Orochimaru was like, ah, a sensor, very nice. And Naruto was like, what do you want, Orochimaru? And Orochimaru was like, ah, you know who I am, do you? And Naruto was like, I'd be surprised if someone doesn't know who you are. And Orochimaru was like, you flatter me, Naruto-kun. And Naruto was like, get to the point, Orochimaru. And Orochimaru was like, My, impatient are we now? You can relax, Naruto-kun. I would just like to talk to you. And Naruto was like, what about? And Orochimaru was like, I just want to ask you one question, Naruto-kun. Do you seek power? And Naruto narrowed his eyes suspiciously and he was like, why would you like to know? And Orochimaru was like, ah, not too trusting, are we now? I just want to know how far you're willing to go to seek it. And Naruto narrowed his eyes further and he was like, I do not seek power. The way you're talking, it makes me believe that you're referring to a power that's handed out to other people to tempt them. Don't be mistaken, Orochimaru. I am not like that. I will earn all my power. One cannot accept power that's just given from an outside source. Because nothing comes for free, Orochimaru. Everything has a price. And Orochimaru just smirked, thinking, what wise words for such a young child, before disappearing back into the ground. Anyways, as Naruto continued walking away, like walking around, he thought that since he had shadow clones, it would finally be safe for him to practice sealing jutsu because sealing jutsu was really dangerous, and even one mistake can result in an explosion or another hazardous event. So, of course, he needed to use shadow clones to actually do it safely, since the shadow clone is not the real him. And if the shadow clone damage is damaged in any way, it'll just disappear. And while Naruto would feel a momentary flash of pain, he would still be safe. And since his parents were busy with the baby, and Jiraiya was outside with outside the village with his spy network, the only person he could turn to for help in sealing jutsu was Hiruzen, who was the third Hokage. So he made his way to the third Hokage's house and knocked on the door, and the third Hokage invited him in, and he was like, "What brings you here, Naruto-kun?" And Naruto was like, I want to start learning sealing jutsu under you. And Hiruzen was like, sealing jutsu? Maybe I'm not the best person to ask. Why not your parents? And Naruto was like, they're busy taking care of my sister. Don't worry, by the time I reach your level and I need to be trained by them, I'm sure they won't be as busy anymore. And Hiruzen was like, ah, I see, so you want to make most of your time when they can't train you. That's a very smart thing to do, Naruto-kun. And Naruto just smiled and he was like, so can I learn Fuinjutsu under you? And Hiruzen was like, sure, but first answer me this. How many levels in sealing are there? And Naruto was like, 8. And Hiruzen was like, that's correct, Naruto. However, out of those 8, I only know 5. Jiraiya has just recently passed level 6, while both of your parents are seal masters who have passed level 8. Normally, the way sealing jutsu works is that the amount of time you take for the first 5 parts is the same amount of time that you spend to master the level 6 and 7, and that's the same amount of time that you take to master level 8. And Naruto nodded his head in acceptance and he was like, it's not the effort that's the issue, Lord Third. I just need someone who's willing to oversee my training. And the third Hokage just shook his head with a smile and he was like, I admire your determination, Naruto-kun. Now let's get started. What the third Hokage didn't know was that Naruto would only take 3 days to master the first level of sealing jutsu. The third Hokage was absolutely amazed with the rate at which Naruto was learning, and when Naruto told him that everything that he already about everything that he already learned, the third Hokage was absolutely amazed that Naruto could do so much even before entering the academy. And Hiruzen was like, "You already know so many shinobi skills, Naruto-kun. Don't you think it's high time that you enter the academy?" And Naruto was like, Do you feel that I'm ready for that, Lord Third? And the third Hokage was like, Naruto, with the skills that you've learned so far, you're almost a Jonin by just skill level. While you don't have the experience required to become a Jonin, the academy will provide you with social interaction so that it can help you read people better. And when you can understand people better, you'll be able to understand your enemies and your allies in battle. So it'll minimize your chances of making any mistakes. And Naruto stared at his knees in contemplation before nodding, and Naruto was like, I never really saw that. My only thought was to become stronger so I can protect the things and the people who are precious to me. And the third Hokage was like, that's a very admirable motive you have, Naruto-kun. In fact, I follow the same philosophy. However, I definitely think you should learn to interact with people in the academy and learn to work with the people who will become your future allies. Naruto nodded as he went back home to ask his dad to enroll him in the academy, which Minato did. And he was like, prepare Naruto, your academy starts in 3 months. And at this, Naruto nodded and went back to the library. About a month later, Naruto decided to venture outside the comfort of his, home and look around Konoha to, perhaps meet some of his future classmates. And the thing he didn't notice before was that everyone was staring at him. And these were stares of absolute adoration because the people were extremely pleased with a 5-year-old Naruto stopping the Nine-Tails paw in its tracks using his Kekkei Genkai. As different people bowed and politely greeted him, Naruto had to greet them as well, as he wasn't a cold bastard. So yeah, and he reached one of the training grounds to see Kunoichi with the Chunin vest on, and she had long raven black hair and red eyes. And when Naruto looked at her, he had to blink for a second. And shaking his head, he was like, I almost thought she was an Uchiha. And by I guess you can guess who this was. This is Kurenai, and she is still a Chunin right now because in the first part of Naruto, Asuma and Kakashi said that she very recently became Jonin. So when Naruto was at the age to enter the academy, I'm pretty sure she wasn't at that age. When she became a Jonin. So anyway, she was practicing her genjutsu in a training field, and Naruto never had any real experience with genjutsu except for, uh, you know, just learning to dispel one. So he never bothered to understand the beauty of genjutsu. So he felt really intrigued when he watched a practitioner genjutsu. So he just decided to watch her train. And guys, by the way, it's just to watch her train, not to watch her. Remember, he's only 6. So, anyways, after a few seconds, Kurenai turned to see Naruto watching her, and she was like, what are you doing here, kid? Don't you have friends to play with? And Naruto was like, actually, I was just taking a stroll around Konoha, and I stumbled upon you training here. And Kurenai was like, and what made you so interested that you decided to stay? And Naruto was like, I never had much experience with genjutsu, so it intrigued me to watch a practitioner of genjutsu practice. And when Naruto mentioned that he was intrigued by genjutsu, Kurenai got an excited glint in her eye, and she was like, "Oh, would you like to know more about genjutsu?" And Naruto was like, "Definitely, if you'd be willing to teach me." And my apologies, I don't believe we've been properly introduced. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. What's yours? And Kurenai was like, my name is Kurenai Yuhi. Say, kid, aren't you a bit too young to be training? And Naruto was like, well, let's just say that I have some special circumstances that require me to become stronger early on. And Kurunai was like, what circums? And then, just as she was about to finish, she stopped as she took a closer look at Naruto, and she was like, "Say, kid, you got quite a few similar features to Kushina Uzumaki. Are you a relative of hers?" And Naruto was like, "Yes, her son to be precise." And Kurune was like, "Ah, I see. No wonder you're training at such a young age. You wouldn't want your parents' enemies after you now, would you?" And Naruto was like, "Yes, that's precisely why. And also, I have to make sure that I'm able to protect my little sister when she's in need." And Kurenai was like, "That's a great way to think, Naruto. And I can't believe that I failed to recognize you at first. If your appearance wasn't enough, then the way you speak should have been. I've never seen a person your age speak so eloquently." And Naruto was like, "Well, as the son of a powerful political figure, I have to know the a proper way to speak to others." And Kurenai was like, "True, true. Now about Genjutsu, would you like to be my apprentice?" And Naruto was like, "Your apprentice? You already trust me enough to be your apprentice." And Kurenai was like, "Sure, why not? As of now, you were the only one who observed me because they were interested in my training. The rest were stupid, perverted men. And those stuck-up Uchihas won't ask someone who's not an Uchiha for help in Genjutsu." And Naruto was like, "Well, not all the Uchihas are like that, Kurenai. Just the ones with the traditional mindset think that way." And Kurenai just waved her hand and she was like, "Whatever. Anyways, Naruto, do you want to be my apprentice?" And Naruto was like, "I don't see why not." And Kurenai was like, "Excellent," and she clapped her hands together to emphasize what she said. And she was like, "Alright, first I just want to see how strong you are. You have been training for some time, right?" And Naruto was like, "Yes, I have, but..." And Kurenai was like, "But what?" And Naruto was like, "Do you have a talent in taijutsu or ninjutsu?" And Kurenai was like, "I might, but my main focus has always been genjutsu." And Naruto was like, "Well, so far my main focus has been taijutsu and ninjutsu. So I don't think our spar would be a fair test of my genjutsu ability." And Kurenai was like, "You're right. But you must have at least trained in breaking from a genjutsu, right?" And Naruto was like, "I have." And Kurenai was like, "Alright then, allow me to test how good your genjutsu resistance is." And Naruto was like, "Alright." And Kurenai was like, "Let's start with the C rank first. I'm sure you'll be able to break D rank genjutsus because that's the first thing you're taught to learn when breaking a genjutsu. Let's try this one. Demonic illusion, hell viewing technique." And she casted it on Naruto, and then Naruto didn't even look like he was affected. And Naruto was like, "That didn't work." And Kurone was like, "What? How is he not able to perform a simple C rank genjutsu?" And Naruto cracked a smile and he was like, "Well, it was fun seeing your reaction, but sorry for messing with you. Actually, I have a condition where my chakra is several times denser and larger in amounts than regular people. D ranked, C ranked, and most B ranked genjutsus don't work on me. Only A ranked or S ranked genjutsus work on me." And then Kurone was like, "Grr, don't do that again, Naruto. I don't like pranks." And Naruto was like, "Apologies for that, sensei." And Kurenai was like, Kurenai sensei, I like the sound of that." And she was like, "Anyways, let's see if a B rank genjutsu works on you. I know you told me most of them don't, but I just want to see it for myself." At this, Naruto just nodded, and Kurenai was like, "Demonic illusion, tree binding death. and again nothing happened to Naruto, and she was like, hmm, he's a lucky one, born with natural genjutsu resistance, and she was like, all right, I've seen enough to know that it does not have any effect on you. So I'm just going to use an A rank genjutsu this time. Demonic illusion, bringer of darkness. And when she said that, the entire world around Naruto became dark, and he wasn't able to see a thing. So he just put his hands into the tiger seal, and with a small burst of chakra, he was like, release, and the illusion faded. And Kurenai was gaping at him, and she was like, to dispel such a genjutsu with such ease, he is truly blessed. I'm sure that within a few years he will surpass me in genjutsu. And she looked at Naruto with a smile, and she was like, Naruto, I know this for sure. You'll become a splendid genjutsu user someday. And at this, Naruto beamed, and Kurenai was like, alright then, let's start your lessons. First, I want you to tell me all that you know about genjutsu. And Naruto was like, I know that it requires you to separate your yin chakra from your yang chakra, much like medical ninjutsu. And since yin chakra is used to create form out of nothing, you can trick the opponent into believing that the illusion that you make around them is real, as it also disrupts the flow of your opponent's chakra. Once you recognize that you're in a genjutsu, to dispel it, you need to direct your chakra inwards to disrupt your own chakra pathways and release the genjutsu. It requires a high degree of intelligence and chakra control to use efficiently. And Kurenai was like, I'm glad you understand all that, Naruto. Now we can skip the boring part and get to the interesting part, like teaching you some genjutsus. I'll start by teaching you some basic C rank genjutsus. Come here. And Naruto happily followed her. So over the next 3 months, Naruto trained in elemental manipulation, and he completed the last exercise for all of them except for Earth Release, which he only completed the first exercise for since he didn't have a natural affinity for it. And he learned about 10 jutsus for each element, uh, except for Earth, for which he only learned 3. And he knew 5 C rank genjutsus, 3 B rank, and 1 A rank. And he also completed the first 5 dances of Kimimaru's, that Kimimaru had for the Shikotsumyaku bloodline, which were the dance of the willow, the dance of the camellia, the dance of the larch, the dance of the clematis vine, the dance of the clematis flower, and the dance of the seedling fern. For the last dance, he couldn't get as many bones to sprout out of the ground as Kimimaru yet, but then he was getting there, and the bones he used were denser and taller than the ones Kimaru used. He also managed to modify Dance of the Clematis Vine to include his skull along with the spine for the whip. He also found out that he was able to channel chakra through his bones, and he realized the amount of potential this had. And with his spine plus skull whip that he used for Dance of the Clematis Vine, he understood like how destructive that this ability could be. Once he learned one-handed seals, and he was definitely planning to learn how to make hand seals one-handed, and this would be extremely beneficial because he could make jutsus shoot out from his bones. For example, he could make the skull at the end of his whip open its mouth and unleash a plume of fire, uh, which would be extremely useful. He also made excellent progress with his taijutsu, and he mastered his father's. I wouldn't say mastered, but then yeah, he got pretty good with his father's taijutsu style, which was the Swift style, or the Swift Fist. And he also learned where the different pressure points and the different vulnerable points in the human body are. And he learned different gentle fist stances so that he could target those. And he also modified the stances to include his bone, like Shikotsumyaku abilities. And with strong fist taijutsu, he was making very little progress. mostly because he didn't really have the strength yet to perform the execute the taijutsu stances. So for now, he only learned uh, like the stances and not the actual fighting with strong fist. And then he aimed to one day finally combine those three stances to create his own taijutsu style. And with Fuinjutsu, he made remarkable progress. He finished level 2 and he was in the middle of level 3 at the end of the 3 months before the academy started. And also, by now, a competitive rivalry built up between Naruto and Itachi. And Itachi was more actively training with his family and going to the Uchiha clan library to learn more about shinobi skills. And even though this rivalry was a little bit one-sided because Naruto was always able to defeat Itachi on whenever they sparred, and he could do it with relative ease. And the only area where Itachi had Naruto beat was Taijutsu because Naruto put his main focus on his bloodline ninjutsu and fuinjutsu, while Itachi put most of his focus on taijutsu and fire release ninjutsu. So Itachi was very far advanced in his taijutsu compared to Naruto, who was just getting used to different taijutsu styles. So when it was an only taijutsu fight without the use of any bloodlines, that was the area where Itachi would beat Naruto. However, once the you know spars were non-restricted, Naruto would always beat Itachi. And in the taijutsu side, Naruto was having like some rivalry with Itachi, but in the other areas it was mostly Itachi who was having a one-sided rivalry with Naruto. And they did become extremely close friends at the point to the point of trusting each other with their lives. Naruto and Itachi visited each other's houses many times to meet each other's siblings, and Naruto did have an extremely fun time playing with Sasuke, and Itachi had the same feeling when playing with Naruto's sister, Natsumi. And one day, like very recently, Naruto was happy to see that Mikoto is actually pregnant again with another child, which made Itachi ecstatic because there was nothing he loved more in the world than Sasuke, and having another sibling would fill Itachi's heart with even more love, and that was something that made him extremely happy. And Mikoto also gave Naruto advice with fire release ninjutsu, and Fugaku did that as well whenever he could. And from time to time, Fugaku would even spar with Naruto because he was extremely impressed with with the rate at which Naruto was growing and developing his shinobi skills. And even though Naruto would always lose against Fugaku, because Fugaku was a lot faster, stronger, and had more powerful ninjutsu than Naruto. Uh, Naruto did enjoy sparring with Fugaku, since it showed him the difference between him and an elite Jonin like Fugaku, and taught Naruto that he would need to become a lot stronger, faster, and have a better arsenal of techniques before he could become as powerful as Fugaku. Also, since Fugaku never used the Sharingan in his fights with Naruto, Naruto always knew that Fugaku was not even using half of his power against him, which meant that Naruto still had a long way to go. And even though Naruto was never the type of person to develop an ego about his abilities or his power, uh, sparring with Fugaku always helped retain his humility because it served as a reminder that Naruto, while he was strong for his age, it didn't mean that he was stronger than, uh, say, Jonin. Naruto also trained and sparred with Kakashi, who helped him with his lightning manipulation, like the last step of his lightning manipulation. And during his training with the third Hokage, he met the third son Asuma, who you know Naruto got to know as specialized in wind techniques. And Asuma helped him complete his training in wind manipulation, and water manipulation was something he completed on his own. While he was training in taijutsu, he also came across Guy, who thought it was extremely youthful of Naruto for trying to learn strong fist taijutsu, and the guy offered a training regime for Naruto and also got him some weights to help out. And the weights were nothing too much. They were only 5 pounds on each arm and 10 pounds on each leg. And his resistance heals were increased to level 4 out of 20, which made him feel like he was walking through wet cement. And by the way, guys, Fugaku is faster than Naruto without Naruto's weights and without Naruto's weights and his resistance heals. So of course, Naruto just needs to learn to train with more weight and resistance seals to increase his own speed. So, anyways, when Guy looked at Naruto's resistance heals, he was like, "This, this is," and Naruto's like, "They're resistance heals, yes." And Guy was like, "How did you get them?" And Naruto's like, "Well, Jiraiya Sensei put them on me." And Guy cried out anime tears, screaming about how youthful it was for Naruto to be training this hard. And Naruto just sighed at his actions, knowing that his training would go twice as fast if the strange Jonin stopped shouting about youth every 5 seconds. But nevertheless, Naruto was still glad to have so many trainers, and of course, with his Uzumaki chains, he could now use six chakra chains and manipulate them perfectly, like how Gaara Sand is. And with Shikotsumyaku, of course, I already told you he learned the first five dances, and along with that, he also learned how to infuse boil release in his drilling finger bullets, drilling spears, and his fist cannon, which greatly increased their power during an attack. So, anyways, Naruto walked with Itachi, who was also going to the academy and starting the same day as him. And Naruto was like, "So, Itachi, what are your thoughts on going to academy?" And Itachi was like, "Honestly, I think it's going to be boring. Apparently, the only ninjutsus we learn are the basic academy 3, which are substitution, transformation, and clone." And Naruto was like, "Yeah, I know that, but that's why I have an idea." And Itachi was like, "What's the idea?" And Naruto was like, "Well, we leave a shadow clone, of course." And Itachi was like, "That's brilliant, but then I don't know how to do a shadow clone." And Naruto was like, "Fine, we'll attend it together until you learn how to do a shadow clone. I'll give you a scroll at the end of today." And Itachi was like, "That would be wonderful. Thank you, Naruto." And Naruto was like, "Well, you are my friend, Itachi." And Itachi was like, "Anyways, let's get to the academy before we're late. Let's figure out the shadow clone thing later." And Naruto just nodded as they walked on. And while he was walking, Naruto was extremely surprised to see Kimimaro there. But then he remembered that Kimimaro went to the academy late because of him being on a probation period, since he hails from the mist. And the probation period is actually 2 years. Even though Kimimaro was under the protection of the Hokage's family, uh, they still had to follow protocol and ensure that Kimimaro finishes his probation period before he finally can get added to the ranks of the shinobi. So, anyways, uh, they do pretty well in the academy, and they find it extremely boring But Itachi, being the Uchiha he doesn't stop listening, and Naruto pretends he's listening and pretends to be reading his textbook, but then his textbook is only the cover page of the textbook, behind which is a book about sealing jutsu. And Naruto and Itachi both make friends with a girl called Anko, as they found her to be very interesting, as she did have a great knack for taijutsu and weapons, but she was very sadistic. And while this would scare many people away from her, Naruto and Itachi found her quite intriguing, and they became friends with each other. And guys, I know you want me to put Yakumo Kurama, who's the realistic genjutsu user, in Naruto's team, but then I forgot to consider that the ship would be similar to who's on Naruto's team. So since most of you guys want an Anko ship, I'm going to put Anko on Naruto's team along with Itachi. When Itachi finally learned to do the shadow clone, Naruto and Itachi both made shadow clones into the academy, and they would both go train all day. One day Anko slapped Naruto on the back as a friendly gesture when he said something that she found funny, and she was very surprised to see that it turned into a bunch of smoke, and with a poof, Naruto was no longer there. This made several people widen their eyes, even though they didn't know what this technique was. Uh, Anko was determined for answers from Naruto and Itachi, and once Naruto told her, she asked Naruto to teach her as well, and it was more of a demand because she was pointing a kunai at Naruto's cheek, but was disappointed when it dispelled into another clone. But anyways, Naruto did agree to teach her the Shadow Clone Jutsu, which she happily learned, and since all three of them knew a high-level Jonin ninjutsu, which was a Shadow Clone, and also Kimimaro came really far in the academy, as he definitely was extremely smart and he was the strongest in the academy. Anyways, the teachers decided to pass all of them because their talents would be wasted in a place like the academy. And the council found it no problem to do that because the war with the Stone Village just ended in the Leaf very recently. So, of course, they were placed on a team. And also, since Orochimaru found this team extremely intriguing, especially with Naruto in it, and Uchiha with an extremely high potential, and a girl with high taijutsu and weapons potential, who would also make an extremely good interrogator for enemies. Kiyomaru was placed on another, you know, squad with Shisui and Yakumo Kurama under Mikoto Uchiha as the sensei, and that was because the previous member on their team died. But Mikoto assured Kiyomaru that he would have nothing to worry about, because the reason why her third genin died was because of insubordination. He didn't listen to the Jonin sensei and he paid the ultimate price by dying. Orochimaru wants to become Naruto sensei. So in the next that's it for today, guys. In the next part we will be discussing the bell exams, and sorry, not the bell exam, the second part of the genin exam. And both the teams are going to get acquainted with their senseis, and perhaps we'll even get to see the C rank mission that they go on. So anyways, if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel, and of course share the series with all of your friends, and feel free to comment about your thoughts on this video, your ideas for my next parts of this what if, and your ideas for the next you know parts of the series, and also comment on whatever Naruto what if you want me to do next after this one. Sorry, not after this one. After this one, I'm doing the Percy Jackson crossover one, and so anyways, the after the Percy Jackson one. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys.